Hello and welcome back for Game 5 where FlyQuest face off against OpTic Gaming. Let's go ahead and jump into things by looking at the starting lineup. Selecting blue side, it's FlyQuest. With Flame in the top lane, Onda in the jungle, Fly mid, Wild Turtle bot, supported by Stunt with Coach Rapidstar.
And on the red side, it is going to be OpTic Gaming. In the top lane, Zig. In the jungle, Acadian. In mid lane, Power of Evil. In bottom, it will be Arrow, supporting him, Lemon Nation, and Coach Zabutin on stage. Really do like his bow tie, by the way. The coach's style definitely going up the next level.
You gotta, if you're gonna be on stage for only a little bit of time, you gotta make sure you flaunt your style while you're up there. That's the most important thing. OpTic Gaming, though, coming into this game not only after a great game over Golden Guardians, that was a lot of G's, but after seemingly figuring out how they want to play the game.
They want to play the game good. There's a couple more for you. Power of Evil and Arrow, big carries for the team. They've been designated as pretty much carries for all of the team compositions. That's the way you want to play right now in the meta anyway. Zig, meanwhile, on the top side has been playing a decent amount of Nara blind pick and a lot more safe and tanky kind of frontliners for the team. And then Acadian as well on actually a wide variety of junglers. He's played some aggro junglers. He has also been one to play the likes of Nunu and the more utility and frontline junglers as well. We did see OpTic as well transition their early leads into some late game goodness. It's definitely a good sign for the team overall, and it's something that they really wanted to work on, and they kind of promised as far as their march towards playoffs.
And if you want to continue the climb for playoff positioning, there's no better opponent than FlyQuest, who are just one win above them in the standings.
FlyQuest, they did look a little bit weak once Fly's champion pool was banned out. It was more than just a pinch. It was about 4 or 5 bans they threw at Fly in the mid lane. And mid lane bans are pretty common right now, but specifically these roaming champions, the Talia, the Galio, the Aurelion Soul, pretty much everything was checked off. And then once that style was removed, it seemed to be a little bit more difficult for them to figure out how they wanted to play the game. So they're going to have to come up with more alternative kind of backup styles. One good thing for them, though, Stunt, I think he's coming back, and that's definitely going to help them as well. They've practiced a lot with this guy. I really like Stunt's play that we've seen him on stage in a lot of his games. So I think that is going to go positively for them.
And as you can see on your screen there, a little bit of the stat comparisons between them. Higher KDA, higher kill participation, and more wins overall for Stunt. So has a better record compared to his counterpart in JJ there. So FlyQuest hoping they can add yet another win to that collection here today, because as we said, they are 1 win ahead of OpTic. This is another one of those examples, similar to what we were talking about with just the very last match, where these two are neck and neck. This could really determine whether or not you go to playoffs.
Everybody,
Into the split.
now is the time to get down and dirty.
Yep, no more holding anything back. No more of those conversations we were having a couple weeks ago about, oh, you've got time to turn everything on. They can flip the switch a little bit later. Just let them settle into their groove. Well, if you don't have your groove now, you better find that groove quick.
The switch has been flipped. All right, Orianna ban, that is a Power of Evil target ban. For people not familiar, definitely one of the most played champions, super comfortable, had the Nashor's Tooth that got him a lot of fame. Regardless, though, that one has been pretty much a mainstay for a lot of teams up against OpTic Gaming. Aside from that, though, no further mid lane bans come in from FlyQuest, whereas OpTic Gaming do take out at least the Zoe. They're not comfortable, as some of the other teams have been, in trading the Zoe for the likes of Azir, plus a premier jungle counter pick. Has usually been the case. Not going to be seen here, though.
All right, well, Zoe banned away, Orianna banned away, Ornn, Callista, Galio, and GP going to be the other bans in the first part of the draft here. And unsurprisingly, and I can't honestly believe I live in a world where I'm playing this, Ogie, Skarner will be first picked by FlyQuest. He has risen with the speed and force of a shooting star up to the top of the pick and ban list. So if he's open, he's almost immediately going to be picked. He is. Onda will be piloting.
You're really on this Star Guardian Skarner here. You keep dropping hints.
Subtle hints. I really want that. That would be cool. But on the other side, OpTic Gaming, they're going to respond with Braum and Sejuani, the Freljord special.
Freljord special packs a lot of crowd control. That's the best thing about the special. They stack up stun with 2 different passives.
The special is DC.
They have ultimates that also control So there's definitely a lot of CC as well as tankiness already locked in from the OpTic side. Meanwhile, FlyQuest, very quick answers here. There's actually a hover over of the Caitlyn from OpTic, and FlyQuest don't want to mess around with that one. They seem to have hit a nerve there. So FlyQuest grab her up for the bottom lane for Wild Turtle. He definitely has a long history on the champion. Actually, Wild Turtle's first game in the North American LCS when he took Chaox's spot way back in.
Man, that's
going way
a
back
name
here,
I
buddy.
haven't heard in a long
He
time.
played Caitlyn, he got a pentakill, and that's your history fact of the day from Old Man Kobe.
Welcome to history class. It's in session. Your professor today taught a very quick lesson. And now we're back to Champion Select, where one of the best ways to deal with a couple big meatballs is some long-range, high-damage output champions, the Caitlyn, the Azir, like you mentioned. The response from OpTic Gaming, Arrow going to be once again breaking out that Draven.
And last time around, I was definitely in on the Draven pick. I was like, okay, this makes sense. Into Callista, short range, is going to have the empowered autos. Yeah. But versus Caitlyn typically, with the extra range, has been able to
try counter pick, right?
Try and poke at him, yeah. So I'm very interested to see what the Draven Braum lane can come up with here. Oftentimes, that will be a lane that goes for early plays, early kills because of the crowd control. So maybe it will be an Acadian visit down there. Try and get some jungler support. Use the Freljord duo to try and cash in for Draven and give him this big gold lead that you'll want to get when you're stacking up your adoration.
Well, OpTic Gaming did choose to ban away 2 lifesaver type of supports from the side of FlyQuest. No Taric ultis this game, no Tom Kench devours, so a couple of tools that could be used to keep Turtle safe will not be available. FlyQuest instead focusing more on the solo lanes here. Victor and Camille both banned away.
Yeah, Camille definitely a high priority ban for a lot of teams in the current meta. Other than that, most of the tanks start to take over the top side. We do have Gangplank on the ban list as well, so top lane has been considerably whittled down, and I think that OpTic actually are pretty happy with that. They're saving their counter pick for Zig, just in case though, in case Flame's got any tricks up his sleeve.
Well, the lock.
Not a trick.
Yep, nope. Not a trick. It's just Gnar. We see a lot of Gnar these days. Janna, though, the pick for supporting Wild Turtle. If you don't have those pick you up and carry you away in his belly of Tom Kench or the invulnerability of the Taric, you go back to one of the most established peel supports in the game.
Yeah, she definitely is established as a peel support. I love it with the composition. They have knockbacks with Azir and with Janna as far as keeping Caitlyn safe. However, in lane, I'm looking at that Janna as a kill target.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The eyes get big. So Draven, Arrow here, Lemon Nation, they're probably going to call down Acadian for some sort of support and look to get some kills there. Other than that, though, if Janna and Caitlyn can keep their range, if they get the time and they get to just poke you out, they keep their range, they play defensively, you don't get any hard engage flash plays on them, and that can definitely start to get annoying. They will poke you down. It's mostly about, will the enemy team be able to get that surprise play? Can they get the flash? Can they get the kill pressure? Because that will definitely start to snowball.
All right, we got another game with Sion in it too, so that's going to be fun to see if he can get any of those big ultis in there and make a huge impact in the team fights at the initiation. Man, there is plenty of CC potential on that OpTic roster, but at the same time, sometimes all you need is one good sting from Skarner to have all the CC you need to really get the fight and make things happen. On the side of FlyQuest, range is the name of the game. You've got the Gnar in the top lane, it's going to be so annoying. The Azir in the mid lane, especially once he gets going. Really difficult to deal with if ahead. Let's see how these two squads fare against each other. Again, both 3 and 6, very close in the standings, both still hanging out in that area where you could get yourself into playoffs if you have a good second half of the split. And part of that is beating these teams that you are in direct competition with.
Yeah, both these teams have had some struggles. They're very different. FlyQuest was rotating a lot of the roster. We had Fly not over quite early enough, so they pulled up Keen from their academy team. They also pulled up JJ, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, as the support role. But now it feels like they've settled on this. Anda in for the jungle, no more Shrimp. Fly in the mid lane for sure. And Stunt now gonna finish off the weekend for them. See if this final roster does actually settle down for them and can pull out one of these much needed victories and team tied in the standings. Meanwhile, OpTic Gaming keep talking about the hard work they're putting in. They're going to outwork their opponents, and they have had some tough beats in these best of ones, really close games in the late game. But now it has been about this Draven recently for Arrow and trying to get him going early.
One thing I'm going to comment on immediately, we do see the Predator approach from Onda here on the Skarner. This is something that we've seen a few different players try out with the nerfs to Summoner Spellbook. It's not quite as appealing anymore, considering nobody's actually using it. Sometimes in solo queue, you'll see people take Ghost early on, then switch to Flash later, but nobody does that in LCS. So just 15% isn't quite cutting it. The Predator is starting to seem to be a favorite.
Yeah, plus the nerfs to the rest of that tree. The utility tree also getting the stopwatch nerfs, the boots nerfs. Well, Lemonation taking some damage. There's your early poke, and that's the kind of annoying part of the lane that I talked about. You know, Caitlyn, long range. Janna also can do a lot of damage with the W after the changes to this champion. She usually runs airy, and they can really force you off the minion waves, take control of the level game, and that's where they want to keep it. The team with the hard engage, though, the Draven and the Braum, they're the ones that want to switch it up with the jungler intervention, the flash plays to go for the kill.
You mentioned that jungler intervention even in Champion Select, and Acadian's somebody I'm going to keep my eye on, because sometimes it's something that you see, whether it's a Hashinshin thread or whatever on Reddit, people talk about like, oh, it's not actually between the laners, it's about which jungler gets involved more. And when you have one of these lanes that feels really abusive on the side of the more ranged champions, that jungler getting involved or not could decide the way that goes. So if Acadian can make his moves towards bottom side, we'll have to see if he can get Arrow and Elimination going. Top, Flame putting some damage here into Zig, who lays down the Decimate. Zig rocking that Glacial Augment on the Scion, so his active items as well as auto attacks gonna have a little extra slow effect.
Yeah, and a big part of that, if you haven't seen it, is right after he gets back up, the zombie Scion with the Glacial Augment. It's a huge slow on melee champions, and he can get a lot of counter kills because he's so fast, and he basically perma-slows you. So watch out for that one. Once he dies, the danger's not over.
Got to make sure you're playing around that dead Scion properly. We've seen a couple of teams do that pretty well so far. Can FlyQuest do it too? They're going to have to if they want to make sure they're successful here. And moving over, stealing the enemy Krugs. We talked last game about how Krugs feel really bad to take. Krugs get an extra bonus feels bad man for Skarner because they're the only camp in the game you can't do with your Spire.
Yeah, but at least you can proc your E on a bunch of them, and you get your like little moment of happiness when you get.
It's not a big enough moment. Still feels really bad.
Come on, I'm just trying to.
You will steal them away.
See the silver lining here with me, buddy.
All right. We gotta think positively. Yeah. We gotta always look for what's gonna be good about this situation. And for Flame, what's good about this situation is maintaining total control over this lane, keeping Zig very familiar with the sight of being underneath his own turret.
Yeah, unlucky overjump there, just out of range of the minion. Doesn't get that last hit. Meanwhile, Arrow's actually doing very well down here. Not taking too much of a CS deficit as they got poked under turret and they gave up control of the wave and the level lead and stuff, but just stacking up his adoration, still landing a decent amount of the last hits, and the junglers are actually colliding on the mini-map. As you see, the pings go down, so everybody's aware of both their positions. Just a little bit of the early warding trade.
Predator was actually used by Onda there as well. He picked up the boots for himself and then used it as he ran in there seeing Acadian, wanted to make sure that that fight broke out. He had every possible advantage for it. Skarner's actually an incredible duelist if you fight him inside one of the Spire zones. So Acadian wanted nothing to do with that, got himself away. Goes back to his own side of the jungle, keep farming up those camps. FlyQuest has actually built themselves up a 500-600 gold lead though, just early on in this game by farming better.
Yep.
And 5 minutes in, that's pretty substantial.
Yep, pushing the lanes a little bit here, a little bit of jungle. And speaking of the jungle, Onda's going to invade. He don't believe he completed the Spire, but he's still going to take the fight.
He still says, you're a Sejuani, I'm a Skarner that's flashing over the wall, but I'm still in some trouble. OpTic collapsing on this right now, and Onda goes too far into enemy territory, brought down.
I think they wanted to give that to Arrow so he could cash in. Yeah. But then a little bit too much health was left over there, so Power of Evil says, I will take this, thank you very much. And that is also going to boost a Syndra towards the level 6. and she'll have more items when he goes back to base at that level 6. So it is very well spent as far as the gold going to the mid lane here. Well, he's just going to use that ult, I guess, for a little bit of lane pressure.
That's sending a message ult.
Yeah. Just want to test it out. How much damage is it going to do? Okay.
Okay, I got a feel for it now. Now, next time it's going to send him back to his base with a black and white screen. But Fly feeling comfortable right now. 48 CS to 45. Let's take another look at Onda's overextension here.
Yeah, so he's taking the Spire, then he panics, walks off of it, doesn't finish it. Blast Cone used by Acadian is very good, and even though there's a level lead, he's got teammates. This is a team game, Mr. Flowers. And Lemonation and Arrow were early on the roam up, so they collect the first blood money for their team, even though their turret took some more hits. They lost a bit more CS, and you can start to see that manifesting itself here. 59, now 60 CS for Wild Turtle on that Caitlyn now, and the lane pressure still theirs.
1-0, 10.3 to 10.4 thousand gold, so very close game between these two squads so far. Lane pushed up so incredibly here bottom side. FlyQuest could very easily take this first turret down here very soon, unless OpTic sends some kind of relief down here to help the bottom lane out, whether it be Acadian, whether it be a teleport from Zig, or Power of Evil rotating down. Something's got to happen here, because they're in some trouble.
And even if they do, all FlyQuest has to do is match. Here goes possible all-in, maybe if that Q had hit. Not going to follow it up, though, and Stunt gets out alive. Here comes some more tower damage, and here comes some more FlyQuest members.
Oh, the Predator's been activated. Onda's got the ulti. He's on the hunt. One more hit onto the turret's going to set things up. He goes for the Braum. Elimination in some trouble here. No way out. Goes home with a death timer. Fly grabbing the kill for himself.
And we're seeing why the Caitlyn used to be so often picked into the Draven. This was Arrow choosing that one, but the Caitlyn Janna, that one's going to push down your turret. They get the first turret bonus gold. They also got the bonus kill on the support there.
Feels good, man.
Because OpTic Gaming did not respect the roam here, and you also got some value out of your Predator from Onda, able to utilize that ultimate very effectively.
I want to keep an eye specifically on how Onda builds, too. We see a lot of Righteous Glories coming out from the Predator Skarners, so they can always have some kind of a go button no matter what's on cooldown. But it'll be a little bit longer before we can see that. Everybody's still starting to build those first items. Sion ulting back to lane. Chugga, 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 chugga. All right. Kicks that minion out into flame, finds a little bit of damage there. I still want to see a big, crazy Sion train wreck into multiple people.
Or conversely, I would like to see one miss completely and end up in the enemy turrets between tier 2, because that, to me, is one of the most hilarious things in the game that can happen.
Ah, I see. You, too, have been familiarized with Diamond 5 0 LP Scions.
Meanwhile, we have some control wards being now set up by OpTic Gaming. They've lost the bottom turret, but they don't want to give up control of the dragon area just yet. Now, one of the other big things about Skarner is the Spire right next to Dragon provides so much pressure, and they do still have that one. It makes it a lot easier to exert the will over this Dragon Vision. Zig takes a decent chunk here from Flame as he goes Mega.
Yep, Flame just decided to use the ulti to trade there. You see Nars do this quite frequently. Zig still eating more damage as those rocks get thrown out. Going to be stuck under his turret once again. But like you were saying, if Skarner's got control over the point and you have no vision there, it's incredibly easy for him to even solo the Drake once the jungle item is completed. So always have to be aware of that. If you're OpTic, you don't want to fall behind, start losing these neutral objectives too, considering you've already got a 1,500 gold deficit since your opponents have so much more control right now. Especially for Arrow on this Draven. No deaths yet, no kills yet. Really want to cash in before you end up getting picked off.
Yeah, it's tough, though, because Wild Turtle has the early boots completion for extra mobility and attack speed here on Caitlyn. It goes a long way since the Janna shield, being leveled up here by Stunt, provides a lot of that extra flat damage that he's going to make use of, and they just constantly push with it. Then they can retreat over to the Dragon Pit. You can lay down some of the early traps and try and force OpTic's hand.
Power of Evil trying to get himself away from this one, but it's a flash into the ulti from Onda that should still seal his fate. Instead, it's going to be Fly who's brought down Onda. In some trouble now, the Draven ulti lending aid from far away. Acadian also showing up in time. Big plays from OpTic Gaming.
Meanwhile, the bottom lane had to abort mission there as they run for their lives due to the skirmish in mid lane going the way of OpTic. No hesitation there from the OpTic duo. Acadian ready and pounces on that counter gank, allowing Power of Evil to just blast the Azir here, unloads with the ultimate, gets the full combo down, and the kill was so quick that there was no recourse here for FlyQuest. That's also going to mean the objective goes their way. Cloud Drake being started up right now, and they should be able to finish it.
Very good.
Mountain.
Mountain.
They were standing on top of it.
By most counts. OpTic Gaming had quite a swing in momentum there. I mean, you got to respect FlyQuest for trying to make a play, but at the same time, you don't have a very tanky Skarner. I mean, you took domination and sorcery in terms of your runes. There's not a lot of defensive options there.
Also, as far as the execution of Skarner ganks early on, I don't love just immediately flashing in for the ult unless you're sure that it is going to be the 2v1 the whole time. It's going to be the pick. Much rather start it off, start off with the E, be able to layer some stuns, and you get a lot more effectiveness out because he pretty much blows everything early on. And the surprise factor there from Acadian jumping in, we'll take a look here. Actually, it's not even a surprise factor. He was on a ward. So they knew Acadian was on the way. Fly just eats that Sejuani ultimate. It doesn't matter right afterwards because Power of Evil just press R on him, and Acadian finishes the kill. So that was some very quick work by the duo.
Plus, Arrow just throwing the ulti in there, making sure you grabbed a little bit of extra assist money. Trying to maybe cheekily steal away that cash in, but not today. Still behind substantially, about 30 CS down compared to the Caitlyn. Wild Turtle, the man that FlyQuest is hoping will be able to carry this one, got himself that winning lane that, like you said, his opponent sort of picked himself into. A little bit strange for Arrow to opt into a matchup that's traditionally considered a counter like that. Push continues topside as Flame 126 CS to the 108 of Zig. Zig going that same build path that you saw from Sunday, rushing the Frozen Heart against the Gnar. Gives him plenty of cooldowns as well as armor. Wallop finds him, Meganar finds him, his shield barely breaks. Welcome to Sion.
Tap line. Acadian going to finish up the red, and there's a lot of vision cleaning to do actually on the side of OpTic because FlyQuest have done a pretty good job getting a lot of those wards in. You can see their dual lane moving up. They activate the Rift Herald. This should be, an intense siege right now because not only do they have the Rift Herald charge, which will take most of that turret's health, but they do have, Wild Turtle gets a little chunk on the outside.
Well, Turtle getting found out by Arrow, also not finding the 90 caliber net onto his opponent means the slow's not there, the extra headshot isn't there. He has to get himself away, and Shelly is stopped. Turret intact.
Yeah, good dodge there by Arrow. You can use the Blood Rush for your extra speed to dodge out and turn the trade in your favor if you have that range already closed. Meanwhile, the turret barely stands. They finished off the Rift Herald, but she did get her charge off, and that means only a few more strikes would be able to topple this objective and start that outer ring of turret train that we've been talking about.
Well, barely is enough for now. FlyQuest passing the blue buff off to the mid laner who has his Nashor's Tooth completed, so he'll be able to spam plenty of soldiers in that mid lane trying to get those last few ticks of damage onto that turret there. Elimination hanging around here too, clearing out some of the vision. And this game is close enough, Kobe, that vision's going to be super critical in determining the momentum and pace of this mid game, as one big pick could really set things in motion for either side.
Yeah, OpTic Gaming have a Syndra long-range stun, Sejuani ultimate, as well as Sion. 4 possibilities of locking people down if they are able to catch them off guard. Meanwhile, FlyQuest would like more standard fights. They're farming up right now. Infinity Edge on Caitlyn. As soon as he gets some of those Zeal multipliers coming in, going to feel a lot better. And it's just going to be the Azir and Janna duty for disengage. Try and keep the DPS functional. Meanwhile, burst damage over here being stacked up. A lot of spheres.
Uh-oh, Onda. Oh, he's in some trouble. That's not something you want to face check. It's a lot of spheres. Holy moly.
Plenty enough to deal with a Skarner with no magic resistance.
Come on, man. He's got a Mercury Tread.
Is on cooldown there, all gray from the Predator.
Yeah, it's hard to tell sometimes, but OpTic now setting up shop on the enemy mid lane turret. Saying, all right, you got a shot at ours, we're going to take a shot at yours. We won't miss, though. They tie that turret count up 1-1. Gold only 100 apart between these two teams. Last game was close. This game is close. All these teams hanging around the same part of the standings are seriously competitive with one another for those lower playoff spots.
All right, what counter can FlyQuest manage here? They're trying to finish off the last few hits of that turret. They're just kind of dangling in front of them. No minions, though, to work with as Power of Evil is able to clear out the rest of the wave. Well, it looks like Arrow should be able to clean up his minions, but again, wave clear, gonna be tricky.
Here comes the push. There goes the turret, and FlyQuest grabs himself another objective. Take that gold lead back to almost 1,000 up over their opponents, onto capturing the Spire. And it's like what you mentioned earlier about the river. That just makes you second guess if you want to walk in there, because you know the Skarner's strong. So if they're all setting up there, it could be a bad place to go. They're not worried about it right now, though. Arrow just continuing to farm up here in the bottom lane. Still nowhere near the farm of Wild Turtle, who now has quite a juicy wave to farm up.
Yeah, and they're also going to want to reset before this Drake. 44 seconds. There's still a little bit of time. Turtle can clear out this wave and then go purchase. Let's see. He's actually sitting on not that much gold. About 1,500 maybe after he clears another one. No, 1,200 there. So could actually pick up Zeal completion, which would be decently big. Goes back, gets it now. Yep, Zeal and the extra dagger. So that is going to be ready for this Infernal Drake, and you would want to set up a little earlier with the traps if you're FlyQuest side, whereas OpTic Gaming definitely want to try and snowball, get that Infernal Drake passive for later. Top side, though, is definitely something to keep your eye on, because Flame has had the push onto Zig on the Scion, so the pressure is there, and Zig's trying to clear out the minions right now.
Onto having been popped twice already by the Acadian and Power of Evil Wombo combo, buying the Spectre's Cal second. Not going to be going for that Righteous Glory rush right after the Cinder Hulk, recognizing he needs the magic.
He's actually got a lot of magic to do.
Yeah, so now he heard you talking. He had to make sure that he corrected that.
Open your eyes, boy.
Acadian Arrow elimination. Working together to take down this Infernal Drake. It's going to be a nice damage boost here for OpTic. Gives them some scaling power as topside Turtle and Stunt saying, hey, you took the Infernal, we're going to take the top lane tier 1, objective trade. 3 turrets to 1 overall now. FlyQuest nearly at a 2,000 gold lead. Push continues as the minion wave going to be shoved underneath that turret.
Oh!
Fight bottom side though, Flame defending his red buff from the OpTic Gaming invaders.
Yeah, but he's got no smite. He's a top laner.
You're only going to defend it for so long. Acadian steals it away. Flame tries to use the Mega Gnar to get away with something there, but it doesn't quite work out for him.
Yeah, he definitely was trying to flex a little bit. Meanwhile, top side, the push continues with the Caitlyn. Red buff here, full trap set up for Turtle. Feels pretty confident with his Skarner roaming up as well. Meanwhile, Flame attempt to pick him off, but he's able to walk away, keep his distance just barely there with Gnar.
Multiple members of both teams on opposite sides of the map. Tier 1 goes down there. Everybody's backing up from FlyQuest on the top side here too. Still a super close game. OpTic with the edge in terms of those Drakes, though another Infernal will be spawning next. So if they can continue picking up these high-value Drakes, they're going to have a distinct advantage as this game scales onward. It's going to put some pressure, onto FlyQuest. Taking a look at where the items are, you can see your Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, 2-item spike coming in from Wild Turtle. Not quite as exclamatory as the 3-item spike that we normally look at for these Caitlyn's and these Tristanas, but it does mean she will be a significant damage threat in a team fight if she gets some free firing time. Arrow, not quite as much money in his pocket, only the Infinity Edge.
Yeah, he doesn't have the money yet. He does have over 400 Adoration stacks, so he's still looking to cash in on those. Has been stacking them up all game long, and that would allow him to catch up to Turtle, but gonna have to secure a kill in order to cash in and get that money in your hand so you could actually purchase. Meanwhile, on the table, Turtle already has that complete Static Shiv, so feeling very good. We're about to enter the mid game here, so we should talk about the team comps and what they're looking to do. It's kind of classic disengage with backline DPS of FlyQuest and a little bit longer range versus the hard engage that OpTic are going for. A lot more burst damage on this OpTic side, so they're looking for the quicker kills, catching people out with their CC, and you got to keep your eyes open once you hear the horn of that Scion train coming through, because that could be the signal that things are coming your way.
OpTic need to pop somebody fast, and FlyQuest need to do everything in their power to make sure it's not their Azir or their Caitlyn. The longer this game goes on, the more ferocious those two champions are going to become. We know what they can both be in terms of just massive cannons for their team in the back line, firing away from such long distances that make it very difficult to deal with them. And I want to point out too, remember, we've seen with the rise of Skarner in the past couple of weeks, if you've got a big tank line, but one of your tanks is not respecting the pull, if they walk up too far and Skarner just drags them away from the rest of the team, if you've got Azir and Caitlyn, they can still bring them down. But now, the threat is on to Stunt, who's picked off immediately by Acadian and elimination together.
Yeah, no hesitation there. Another very quick flash from Acadian. Finishes that one off. They have vision control around Baron, too. This is a dangerous time to be giving up picks like that. The support instantly killed. That was one of the drawbacks we listed of Janna. Even though you can get the annoying range harassment, you get flashed on, if you get full hard engaged on, they just locked her up, and the extra kill money is going to go a long way. The extra tower pressure is also going a decent way here. Not able to finish it off there for OpTic Gaming, but they still have members around.
Like Donda's decision to walk up there with the sweeper on, prevented himself from face checking that brush with Acadian and elimination waiting. Arrow pushing up top side, getting that turret a little bit low, but not sealing the deal just yet. QSS completed for Power of Evil on the side of OpTic, and I really want to point this out because we talk about with Malzahar in the meta for as long as he was, the QSS was paying the Malzahar tax, but with Skarner making his rotation, different purple champion, similar theme, you've still got to pay the tax, and Power of Evil is just eliminating one of those options because Onda wants him or the Draven, right? So if you just get a QSS on both of those guys, suddenly the job for the Skarner becomes a lot harder. I really like this pickup from Power of Evil.
And I have to say, building a QSS versus Skarner feels a lot better even than it did building it against Malzahar, because if the Skarner's going full tank, then without the ultimate,
he's useless.
He just kind of sits there.
He's big melee minion. He's even purple.
Yeah, just stomp on that Scorpion, and the threat is mostly gone. So we'll see if he gets any use out of it. You do have to continually check the inventories when you're playing a champion like that. It's a habit you kind of have to build.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen people in the LCS so far. I forget who it was today. Maybe Lyra or something went for a flash play onto a carry that had just purchased the QSS, and feels a little bit bad, but you know, they were ahead already. Anyways, Troll Wards though have been stacked up, and OpTic trying to use the Fog of War. That's always to the advantage
there's
of
your
the
horn.
Engage.
Zig can't find anybody that time. He goes for it though. I can respect that. Trying to make something happen here. Frozen Heart and Adaptive Helm means he's got 30% cooldown reduction as well, so that ultimate, now that it is level 2, does only have a 65-second cooldown. Scion ult is actually really, really low in terms of the cooldown time compared to most ultimates.
Yep. Just refuel here in the side lane. He's just going to try and farm up, and it'll be ready, not quite for the Infernal Drake, but if they delay them around the Infernal Drake, maybe they could delay for long enough. That being said, they have other forms of hard engage as well. We already mentioned this Sejuani as well as the Syndra stuns can start them out. See if it happens though. Funneling through the jungle corridor could also be dangerous for OpTic Gaming. Caitlyn traps are already laid down. The Infernal Drake is here.
FlyQuest going for it immediately, forcing OpTic to come in, try to answer this one. Acadian into the pit, fields it away. Well done by the OpTic jungler. He'll pay for it with his life, but if the rest of the team can get away, you'll call that worth. Elimination targeted now by the Caitlyn from Wild Turtle. OpTic back out.
Even with the Predator, they're not able to chase anyone else down. That was a pretty big steal. If OpTic can keep FlyQuest from getting anything out of Baron pressure in a 5 vs 4 scenario. I think it was a very early smite from Onda, but in the meantime, they're going to start it up.
Scion ulti's back. OpTic have the potential to try to stop this. Baron already down to 2,000. It's likely going to be secured right here. Onda gets this one, and that objective is worth so much more. Baron to FlyQuest.
All right, FlyQuest are able to capitalize on the kill they got. Even though the Infernal Drake was stolen, Baron is definitely going to trump that, especially for this team with the scaling DPS of Azir and Caitlyn. Backline is pretty much fully operational. They're ready to siege with this Baron buff right now.
That is scary, and it's really well executed from FlyQuest. I love them seeing, okay, we were in a bad trade, let's make it a good trade.
Dang. Well, let's turn these lemons into lemonade. Here we go, though. This is the lemon being handed over. Acadian goes in. It's a pretty early smite, you know, gets down to 280 there, and then Acadian picks it up. But you drag him right onto a Caitlyn trap there. Well placed from Onda as well as Wild Turtle to get the CC chain and guarantee a easy kill on Acadian after he takes the Infernal. Now it's up to OpTic to try and stall, whereas FlyQuest really want to get multiple turrets off of this buff.
All right, we've got a 1 2-1 with Skarner floating around between two of those lanes, seeing if maybe there's a pull to set up anywhere. Keeping your solo laners in those side lanes. Janna and Caitlyn mid, very hard to engage on those. Onda still just looking for any opportunity to use that Predator here when it comes off cooldown in a couple of seconds. FlyQuest really want to get as much as they can off of this Baron. I mentioned earlier this game was so close that any edge that a team could find could end up determining the pace and momentum of the game for a while, and FlyQuest have found that for themselves. Now 5,000 gold in the lead as Fly breaks the bottom lane tier 2, brings them up to a 4 turret count compared to their opponent's 2, and now the rest of the team going to be rotating towards mid to try to grab their 5th. Flame still setting up shop in the top lane.
And the longer this game goes, the more difficult it is to break through to the FlyQuest backline. The Fortress team comp here that they've built up with Janna disengaged, Azir disengaged, a couple of tanky frontliners there becomes very, very difficult to crack. You can see all the visions already being starved out. OpTic Gaming wards are expiring on the map. All the secondary turrets are being taken down, and the defenses slowly but surely are just drifting away.
You can see the vision score comparison on your screen over the players' trinkets. Very similar for top lane, mid lane, AD carry. There's an edge in the support role by 20 for elimination, but look at the jungle. 94 for Onda, 64 for Acadian. Onda putting in a lot of work this game to make sure that his team has the vision advantages they need. Vision being one of the most effective ways at snowballing a lead and making sure your opponents can't find a way back into the game. I really like the fact that he's focusing on it this hard, especially when he's playing that pure tank build, kind of like what you talked about. If your opponents build a QSS, it makes it so you're trying to find ways to still be effective in the game, and setting up that sort of recon for your team is one way to do it.
The classic meatball with wards. On the top side, though, Fly is actually going hard on Zig here.
Tries to make the moves happen, gets the flash out of that tanky top laner.
The ult was
Onda
used.
shows up here, pulls him right back. Turtle chimes in just to have his say. Fly grabs himself the kill. Onda running away. Doesn't want to get turned into a lobster bisque by a zombie. Nope.
Yeah.
He's fine.
All right, now it's going to be a power play. The Baron buff will time out, but okay, Death Rush being set up here. Are they going to get round 2?
All right, Acadian saying this is the guy we're going to pull the trigger on. Finds the stun, plenty of CC. Arrow cashing in. Finally, those stacks of adoration. 3,000 gold in the inventory.
Onda's going to have nightmares anytime he walks by any brush. Like, oh God, are there 5 Central Balls stacked up? Oh, there's 5 people in there.
This team has 6 deaths total, and 4 of them are Onda because he keeps being the guy who unfortunately walks by the 5-man death brush. Acadian and the rest of OpTic will go back to
Gotta look both ways before you cross the brush, Captain Flowers.
We've got lots of traffic and just general driving and walking across the street references today. I can appreciate that. Elimination clearing out some of those traps there in the mid lane. Caitlyn really effective at creating those zones of control around both neutral objectives, like you mentioned earlier with the Drake pit, as well as just setting up the siege there in the lanes. OpTic still finding themselves down 4,500 gold despite the pickup, despite the adoration cash-in they got for their carry. Facing the hole, just to be annoying. Power of Evil backing himself away. Next Drake is Ocean, spawning here in 40 seconds or so. OpTic have themselves 3 Drakes. A 4th would feel real nice and set them up for an Elder Drake win condition.
Plus, they don't want to have to deal with this long-range siege anymore. I mean, the Caitlyn Azir outranges them on these turrets. They're slowly going to whittle away. They're slowly going to lose more and more gold, more and more territory. So they got to kind of pull the initiation out of one of these brush, out of the fog of war somewhere, get the jump on FlyQuest to make this composition start to crumble. You know, figure out a way to get inside the cracks here and past that front line.
At the same time, looking at neutral objectives, looking at ways to break your opponent's plan. You've got Baron coming up 90 seconds. That's so effective on a team with an Azir and a Caitlyn, man. That's scary. FlyQuest starting up the Drake now for themselves. OpTic. Kobe, I feel like OpTic have just been relegated to defensive duty. Ever since that first Baron was taken, these guys have shifted into a purely defensive mindset. You're not seeing any attempts at making things happen. They're just content seemingly holding their ground, trying to ward up their own jungle and staunch the siege.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation to be in where the other team is controlling vision so well, but your way back in the game is through a surprise play. So a lot of those options being limited and no real opportunity as they continue to bleed away control. FlyQuest very happy with the progression of this game. Turns out the Infernal Drake getting stolen was the best thing to happen to him. Go up there, grab the Baron instead, and now they've got the control. They're the ones in the driver's seat, and the drivers should be moving straight up to siege once again. They have to worry about any sort of flanks, though. This is a level 16 Scion, and the ultimates are definitely ready here for OpTic to actually find someone out of position.
FlyQuest making it ever harder to find them out of position, though. You've got your Maw of Malmortius completed now. 4th item on the Caitlyn. Banshee's Veil on that Azir means you've got to pop that before you can even hope to initiate onto him.
I really do like the itemization. Here we go.
Oh, Turtle getting himself caught out, tries to get away, does survive for now. Stunt going to be taken down first. Acadian drops, though, as well. Fly looking to chase this down even further. OpTic, multiple members on the run. There's so much damage output here from FlyQuest. Massive Mega Gnar from Flame going to send 2 to their face as Arrow and Power of Evil, the last men standing, trying to get away. Zig's body counts as half a man standing, but it won't be up for long. Power of Evil going to be crit there down to 1/3 of his HP. FlyQuest moving over to Baron.
Yeah, that should be the objective afterwards, unless Power of Evil makes a very risky play to walk near and try and steal it with a QE or something like that. He's probably should not.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
But FlyQuest, that just goes to show how strong of a comp they have at this stage of the game with this big lead. OpTic Gaming, they found their little opening. You know, they found one of the cracks right to a carry. They got the initiation on the Turtle, but he uses all his summoners, and the support here sacrifices himself to save Turtle. Janna goes in, stunt, ultimate, and as long as he keeps Turtle and Fly alive, then it's an easy chase down for the rest of the FlyQuest members. Flame coming up with a really big secondary engage there on the Gnar, and then also has his leftover stopwatch, I believe, there for that last immunity.
And it wasn't just Turtle's summoner spells, it was the Mikhail's Crucible from Stunt that helped him escape that CC too. So big purchase from the support, doing what every carry dreams their support will do, lay his life down for that of his friend. FlyQuest once again setting themselves up for success, setting themselves up for control.
Well.
Got a Baron buff. Zig, okay, there you go, Kobe. There was your Scion ulti into the wall. Not quite finding anything. Stunt getting himself away, onto Stunned Up. Again, the Skarner, the target. OpTic take him down. Power of Evil on a rampage with that kill.
It's hard to navigate corners with that Scion, but they do find the pick anyways. They corner off another. Onda does go down, and they do have now 5 vs 4, but Turtle with this Baron buff, pressures on top side. Wow Flame on the Gnar is still pushing bottom.
Zig will move up to try to stop Turtle. He does have the Scion ulti on a 39-second cooldown, so it's just about up again and ready to go. He can use that to charge through the trap line, just like you're seeing here. Right towards Wild Turtle, finds the stun, into yet another stun, into a winner's bite. That is all she wrote. Unstoppable for Power of Evil. But even though you can't stop him, you can't stop Flame from taking this turret either. Inhibitor turret number 1 goes down. Arrow looking for some more auto attacks onto Fly as Flame backs himself away. Guardian Angel is armed and ready. Not in any real danger here.
Yeah, that was a conscious choice by FlyQuest. Even though they had lost a member, they wanted to get value out of the Baron buff. They wanted to get inside the inhibitor line here. So with mid lane heavily weakened and bottom lane turret actually gone, FlyQuest now do have a way to end out this game with continued press, even though they had a couple of picks there. So Turtle sacrificed in order for Flame to get the bottom inhibitor turret. And now OpTic Gaming trying to find some area to work with. Again, we keep mentioning how important the vision is for them to find those picks. The Deathbrush have been semi-successful in at least getting the picks. At this stage in the game, they would be able to take more than just the couple of kills that they gotten with those picks and try and turn it into something bigger.
You know, I want to give credit to OpTic's carries here as well. If you look at Power of Evil and you look at Arrow, look at the score lines, 0 deaths between them. These two have done a wonderful job of keeping themselves away from the danger posed to them by not only the damage from the enemy carries, but the initiation potential from both the Skarner and the Gnar. So despite how far behind they feel in terms of the momentum of the game, They have done well on a micro level, positioning in the fights, making sure they're where they need to be, being a part of the overall plan. 7 out of 9 kill participation for the mid laner, 6 for that AD carry. But FlyQuest looking to put a death on them yet. Good Lord, man, that damage.
And that's probably going to mean this Elder Dragon will be very dangerous for OpTic to go for. Arrow's trying to lifesteal off the Raptors right now, and he got a decent amount of health back. He's still missing a large chunk, but FlyQuest don't have to rush anything. They're scaling quite nicely here. Not only is Azir a monster in the late game, but the Syndra, as you pointed out, has to pay the Skarner tax with this QSS, and the QSS is only going to turn into a sword, which you can't very effectively use.
Don't use swords. I've played video games. Elder Drake just absolutely melted by Azir and Skarner together. That objective, not too difficult to take when you've got a 5.5 item Azir. Skarner tanking it up, making it so Azir's not under any threat either, always helps. Randuin's Omen on Onda, something I want to point out is it's different from what you're seeing a lot of the time with these Dead Man's Plates on Skarner. Dead Man's Plate better for playmaking, better for allowing you to grab that critical pull, but Randuin's Omen significantly better for actually tanking up in the middle of the fight.
And I think it's significantly better after the enemy carries both have QSS, right? Your speed from the Dead Man's Plate is all about getting that pull onto one of the carries rather than having to ult one of the tanks. And now he just wants the survivability to try and live through Draven crits. You just kind of sit there and take hits.
I respect it. I think it's a good choice here in this situation. This FlyQuest, once again, pushing up in this mid lane. They've got an exposed inhibitor bottom, but they want to try to put the last couple of hits into this inhib turret mid lane instead. They've got a 9,000 gold lead. They've got the Elder Dragon burning away. They think they should have the damage to break this one open, but can they execute? OpTic still has plenty of engage potential here between Zig and Acadian. Sion's a unique champion in that he really can shut down that trap wall from Caitlyn, still engage through it like most other champions struggle to do. But don't you think FlyQuest is going to make it easy for him?
Yeah, and then you run into the problem where the rest of your team still can struggle getting over it behind you to follow up with some damage on your initiation. Here we go though, turret very low, and FlyQuest taking another chunk out of it.
All right, one more big hit from Caitlyn should do it. But Turtle doesn't want to step up too far on this one, especially when Flame's just being given free firing time onto the bottom lane inhibitor itself. Turtle gets the last auto attack into that mid lane inhib, and now it's a two-pronged attack in the OpTic Gaming base. Flame continuing to auto attack into that bottom lane inhibitor. Onda and the rest of Fly just positioning themselves further forward, making sure they seem threatening. Now Flame can rotate over. A couple of auto attacks from Turtle take Arrow down to half HP, and all of a sudden the prospect of a fight doesn't seem promising at all for OpTic, at least until Arrow can heal back up off of these minions. Rotation toward the top side. Nice pick there by Power of Evil, finding Stunt. Back to what you said, Kobe, the Janna very effective at peeling for others. Sometimes can't peel for herself.
Can't peel a one-shot, and he gets stunned up and taken down. That is going to buy a tiny bit of breathing room, but FlyQuest still with an insane grip on this game. 10 seconds left on the Baron, but even though they killed the support, OpTic had no business heading over to that side of the map. They just have to try and push out the super minions as far as they can so they can get a little bit of breathing room.
Braum going to be spotted out there. Limit and Arrow making their way over towards that Baron pit.
Oh,
Try
man.
to secure vision while they have a chance, but FlyQuest has many members in mid lane
They
still.
decided-
OpTic are trying to rush to the Baron.
They decided they have no other options, but FlyQuest are going straight for the Nexus.
FlyQuest say, all right, you want Baron? We're just going to take the base instead. Flame and Onda onto the Nexus turrets. Decide to make the pull happen onto Zig. OpTic have retreated. They've decided to go for the fight here. Draven ulti comes down. Onda going to be caught out. More damage onto him. Once again, taken down the Skarner. Fly running away. Turtle as well. Acadian over the wall finds the lockdown onto Fly. Flash away. Still getting himself out for now. Shuffles that enemy jungler backwards. OpTic still seeing if they can do anything here, but the counterattack begins. You've got the damage, you've got the range. Wild Turtle bringing the pain here onto the OpTic Gaming front line. They pop the Guardian Angel for Flame. He's going to be resurrecting in just a moment. Narbar is full. Power of Evil taking down Stunt yet again. The gameplay button has been pressed.
But again, the minions during that fight did a lot of damage to the Nexus turret, and OpTic Gaming are running out of resources here. Baron is still available, so FlyQuest, after they get their jungler back and support revived, could easily return to this area of the map. OpTic Gaming, though, again, they just thinking one step at a time right now. Every little victory here buys them a bit more time to try and come up with that big play. Mao, their risk tolerance is risen to the roof because there are so few options for them. They're willing to go for it. They're going to rush down this Baron. Should be able to get it as well.
Never say die. Go for something, because you know just sitting and waiting is a guaranteed loss. OpTic grab themselves Baron and buy themselves a bit more time here in this game. The defense will continue. This is deja vu, Kobe. The defense into your opponent's seemingly endless control.
Here's another look at FlyQuest. They answered the posturing around Baron of OpTic with some pressure onto the Nexus, but then OpTic, again, they're the team with all the engage. This is the hard engage versus disengage here, and they were able to catch them in a scramble, get one kill. However, in this extended chase through the corridor, they then delay a lot, and FlyQuest are able to harrier them on the way out, allowing the minions time to weaken the Nexus turret there, just kind of keeping them around a little bit. Guardian Angel gets popped there for Flame, and then Power of Evil over the wall, stacking up a couple more spears, finds Stunts once again with the ultimate, and is able to get another kill for the team.
All four carries this game, Kobe, are full build. Turtle's so far full build that he's actually gone ahead and sold the boots. And that means that every other person in the game, including the other two carries on the enemy team, can be killed in the blink of an eye. You make one misstep, you are dead. This game is balancing on a knife's edge.
Like this play from OpTic, they don't have time, so they're going for the only opening they got.
Pop the Banshee's Veil first. That's what's got to be done. Fly gets himself over the wall, though.
Well, swing and a miss.
Yep, a good attempt. But now, FlyQuest get their counterattack opportunity here in the bottom lane, pushing onto Nexus turret number 1. Flame will take that one down. Zig firing off the ulti, looking to find Flame on that one. Flash away, keeps the little Yordle alive. OpTic, 2 inhibitors down. The third about to be exposed if FlyQuest have their way. Elimination moves into position just in time to protect it. 2 more Turtle auto attacks, likely enough to take that one down. More shields from Stun as Turtle makes his way through the enemy jungle, making sure they can keep that valuable carry alive. 498 farm in 43 minutes on Turtle's Caitlyn. The man has an absolutely insane gold value. Problem is, once you're at 6 items like this, no boots, not really going to do a lot for you. Not anymore. Flame over the wall, keeping himself safe from Zig yet again. On the top side, just... That's fun to do. Just use your shield, tank a couple turret shots.
He's like, your turret may still be standing, but it doesn't do any damage to me.
Very scary on the Skarner right now. Very tanky. Still having the opportunity to pull anybody that overextends. You do have Mercurial Scimitar on both your Syndra and your Draven. Like you said, that Skarner tax feels really bad for the Syndra right now. Happen to have that item that effectively does nothing for her damage output in a game where she wants to be able to guarantee the one hit onto either of those enemy carries.
All right, let's see how OpTic can band together. Because FlyQuest know they have time on their side. That's why they're taking this one so slowly. They don't have to rush into it. Got them pinned up. They're not going to get any stronger. As you said, Syndra can't fit any more items in. And there's no more DPS going to come through. So they just continue to strangle out any of the extra resources here, closing in the vision on both sides of the jungle.
OpTic know that their carries can't get any stronger, but maybe the front line can. Granted, you're up against a 6-item Caitlyn, 6-item Azir, so an extra tank item maybe means you survive 2 more auto attacks, but those 2 auto attacks could be what you need to walk out with a win here. For OpTic, considering every fight for the past, 20 minutes has been in or around their base, one big catastrophic loss is the end of the game. Your opponents are already knocking at the door. You've got to make sure that everything from this point on is flawless or at least even enough to hold the line. They drop some wards in their own territory, try to just keep an eye on everything. FlyQuest playing it so slow, so steady, Elder Drake spawning in under 90 seconds now. That could be the win condition FlyQuest is waiting for, but we'll have to see if that's what they opt into. They do only have one Drake for themselves, so the burn isn't a huge bonus, but you're keeping it out of the hands of your opponents, and you're giving yourself that extra little edge that just might be enough. Honda will continue on vision clearing duty. I talked about his vision score earlier, comparing it to Acadians. He's now up to 179, which is the most in the game, and of course a big part of that is zombie wards. Those inflate the vision score quite a lot, but still an impressive amount of vision control coming from the FlyQuest jungler.
Well, Gathering Storm is also taking a pretty big effect now, as both OpTic carries do have it. Turtle also is running it.
That means that's 2 Gathering Storms to 1. There's a Storm advantage over for OpTic Gaming. Remember, Gathering Storm ticks every 10 minutes on that 10-minute mark. So slightly under 4 minutes from now, you are going to see another big damage boost for Power of Evil, Arrow, and Turtle.
Yeah.
Could be something that OpTic is hoping.
It's moments like these where Fly on his ear, he took Scorch. Moments like these where you're like, I should have took Gathering Storm.
Like, that feels pretty bad. FlyQuest pushing up the mid lane, though. They've got themselves the Azir turret to protect themselves under. Raising that one at the tier 1 site. Zig gonna be forced back from the Mega Gnar. Flame wants to put auto attack.
Taking down the turret. He's got one.
Even care.
He's got 2. He's moving around the outside.
Keep on count. Keep on count. Tries to jump over the wall. And nope. All right. Wait. Is he stuck? Is he stuck?
2 versus 1. He's got him against the wall. He's down. He's gonna get back up.
He's gonna get up, but it doesn't
2.
matter. FlyQuest has got the Elder Drake for themselves, but their little prehistoric Yordle is history.
I'm sure Flame is not happy with that trade. It's just a late game Drake over there, but it does feel bad to lose your GA. Here's the initiation on a Turtle, actually.
Feel even worse to lose your AD carry. Thing is, stun again, gonna be there on that Mikhail's Crucible, keeping his team safe, but now he's once more the sacrificial lamb. Power of Evil, grabbing a legendary spree off of that. OpTic now has 5v3 for 30 seconds.
OpTic may be trapped, but they are making a hard fight here. And Power of Evil goes for
Power of Evil deletes him! The power of the Syndra. I don't give a damn if he has a Mercurial Scimitar. He's still got the damage he needs.
Oh, OpTic Gaming are just willing their way out of this corner right now. They make the pick on the Flame. They gave up the Elder Dragon, didn't even care because they're taking down the kills, and now they've got a death timer to work with on Turtle. 44 seconds left. They're looking to finish.
You've still got to break through Fly's Azir. He's got to hold the line here, though. OpTic pushing up. They've got 5 men strong. Power of Evil going to be taken low. Elimination low now as well. Zig teleporting into the fight, going to drop the Decimate. Interrupted by Onda. Flame still looking to defend on this one too. OpTic still trying to end this game. Locket of the Iron Solari will protect the rest of the team. Fly continues dealing the damage, but now it's Flame into the back line, and the counterattack has been realized. Fly cuts them to pieces. Arrow's gonna be taken down. The depth was so low, but so far away. A triple kill for FlyQuest. They ace OpTic Gaming.
Oh man, OpTic they played so hard to get out of that end game. They picked off the top lane, it ran down the middle, got another pick, 2 more. Power of Evil flashed in, but in the end, they were a couple autos short of finishing off that Nexus, and now FlyQuest will be able to run it back. What an ending to this game. So much fight there left in OpTic, but in the end, FlyQuest are going to be able to move up the standings.
After last game, I figured that would be the best ending of the day. Then they gave us this. Truly an effort from OpTic Gaming. What a defense, but FlyQuest, 49 minutes in, will claim their win here today. OpTic came closer than I think anyone expected after seeing how that game had played out for the past 30 minutes. To winning that game. Like you said, that was 1-2 auto attacks away, depending on who hit it, from going down. What a counterattack, what a push. I love the fact that they were willing to go for it. I love the fact that this team was willing to risk their Nexus turrets for a Baron because they knew they couldn't give another one up. I love that attitude when you're playing from behind to just go for it because you can't sit there and wait. But FlyQuest controlled the game well ever since they got that first Baron. Like you said, the blessing in disguise of losing the Infernal Drake. They had such control, and they just strangled OpTic out of the game for the most part.
Definitely a close one to end out the day on. And past the halfway point here now with the North American LCS as we come to a close for this week. Congratulations there to FlyQuest, moving up the standings, getting that win and that separation that is very important on that borderline of the playoffs cutoff.
Especially, like I said earlier, how close both of these last 2 games today were. We had 4 teams that are all sitting around a very similar scoreline right now. And the contests between them showed why those scorelines are so close, because they seem so evenly matched. Every win could be the difference between going to the playoffs and watching from home.
Yeah, Stunt there. I'm glad he can laugh about now, getting one shot over and over by Syndra. He's like, I mean, at that stage, you just got me again, over the wall.
What am I supposed to do?
That's the life of the support. It kind of takes me back to like a couple years ago, you know, where it was the support Zyra's running around, Syndra was meta, and just one-shot supports were happening. That was the norm. Now everybody's playing the tank support, so we don't get to see it as often. But
yeah, they don't quite get
that nice
frequently.
touch.
But
yeah.
once Syndra comes back, I mean, you start to see things
Most
like
people
this.
like to see a Jenna getting one shot.
I mean,
a lot of people enjoy that.
It's a montage that a lot of people would like to tune into. I can respect that, but popping the Janna over and over again, and then at the end making the flash to pop Turtle that almost set up the win for OpTic Gaming. It was a crazy effort from them, but now we're going to send things down to Avali and FlyQuest support.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Stunt. What an amazing end to that game. In times like that, how do you keep your composure?
You don't. You use the adrenaline and use it to fuel playmaking and shot calling, and the rotations just really matter near the end of the game.
Wonderful. And we didn't get to see you yesterday, but today you came in, you looked confident. How does it feel to be back in the LCS?
Pretty good. Yeah. Today the draft was pretty revolving around our bot lane picks, the Caitlyn Janna, and the team put a lot of confidence into me to like execute that pick at the first tower and get those early objectives. And so I felt a lot of responsibility to make this game like work out.
A little bit on the team dynamics. What do you think are the, if any, benefits of having a substitute?
Benefits, you feel kind of pressured in your role. So for some people that could make them want to work harder and be at their full potential. So that's a benefit. And also if there's champion pool differences, you know, you could have one person like really good at carries, for example, and one person good at tanks, you know. Those are some good benefits.
Now working towards your full potential, what goals do you have for yourself for the rest of the split?
We want to make playoffs. And this game was really important towards having any kind of shot at it. So I'm really happy that we won.
Well, congratulations again on that win, Stunt. And to wrap up the day, let's hear it from the guys at the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Avali. We heard it from Stunt there at those late game, nail-biting team fights. There's no composure. It's adrenaline-based shot calling and reactive movements at best.
The last 2 games today as well all came down to split-second decisions.
So before we even attempt to break this one down, I just want to take another look at that crazy ending. The base defense mounted by FlyQuest to put together the final victory of Week 5 and moving to 4-6.
This was such a close game. I kind of respect OpTic deciding, like, it's do or die here. We don't want to reset a couple more times and deal with Flame split pushing, so they try and end the game here. And things are looking all right. It's a little unfortunate that Zig had previously used his ultimate to kind of chase down before, and then he just gets pulled into the turrets and focused down. And eventually Flame's going to hit Nega and jump in, and that's one of the key parts of this defense.
Missed Sedge ultimate, even though Fly had cleanse. He's able to use the cleanse on the stun, because basically, remember, Turtle's dead. So Fly's the only real damage dealer. Meganar is huge to be able to get Power of Evil, but also the fact that they cleared the minions early, and then a near save by Arrow there as he got ulted away from FlyQuest. When we were watching it live, we thought, it was going to be the zombie Scion killing.
Right,
him.
it was in all the messiness, it was hard to tell whether or not that was zombie Scion or the Scion in actuality. And you could see the heartbreak on the faces of the OpTic Gaming squad because, as you said, that is one of those stabs at victories after some pretty big playmaking from the side of someone like Power of Evil. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Before we do, there was one piece of criticism I know he wanted to throw. Yesterday, we had an interview with Arrow in which he was very vocal about the pick that he chose for himself yesterday in the Draven. It made its appearance again today. Let's take a look at what his thoughts were on this pick.
Thank you. I'm happy with this winning my Draven. Yeah, really happy.
Did you come in today thinking, I'm going to play Draven?
Yes, for sure. 100%.
She said 100%.
Yeah.
And
carried over to today, too, I think.
yeah, maybe FlyQuest listened to that and said, well, let's just take early Caitlyn, and then he picks Draven into it. One of the biggest counter picks to Draven is Caitlyn, and this is one of those times where if you cast your mind way back to a couple interviews with Zabutin early in the split, he was talking about his coaching style being very like, whatever the players want, that's pretty much what they're going to get. And this is a time where you probably should have stepped up and said no, because this whole early game was dictated off the fact that they got blasted in lane and lost their turret early on.
Yeah, they pick Varus in this game, and they probably win because they don't fall 100 CS down and have that supercharged Caitlyn with the Janna that early on in the game. Because, as you mentioned, I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, too, because Syndra is kind of a Power of Evil pick that a lot of people aren't pulling out. And he nearly solo carried the game with it, which is what you're hoping that Arrow is going to do on Draven. It's just not the case.
His only death was in that final team fight around the Nexus here for Power of Evil.
And it's worth noting that he was the single reason why FlyQuest couldn't close that game out earlier. He found Stunt a couple of times. He found a couple other people. Great mid 2v2 as Fly had not actually built the Merc Treads first, which most Azirs do in that matchup, so he gets popped really easily in these skirmishes. And then, yeah, Power of Evil now is a 2-0-1. He has an Infernal Dragon ticking, and they just completely play around him the entire game.
Yeah, really good brush camps, constantly stacking. And this play was insane. He uses the Merc Scimitar, pays off, lands the Flash Alt WE.
Through the Mortius, too,
So Power of Evil did everything humanly possible probably in that situation to win his team that game, but he was
still lost.
He was playing with such deficits because he had two losing side lanes. When they had counter pick in the bot lane, they did not need to let that happen. Like you said, Varus works well with that team comp as well because you have extra pick tools. It was just a little sad to see them so hard stuck on that Draven for not really a great reason.
Some criticism levied for that pick, but on the flip side, as Stunt brought up, the entire team comp revolved around that Caitlyn Janna, making sure that they were taking those turrets rather early, opening up the map, and we saw the prowess of the siege potential in the late game map control with the inhibs down, made it that much harder for OpTic to find their avenues to victory.
Yeah, Flame had some pretty heady split pushing as well, escaping Scion Ult after Scion Ult. He also was over 100 CS up on his opponent.
How you guys feeling about Scion as a pick right now?
Looking a little like a dud for the highest
1 and 2 on the day, right?
Queue.
1 and 2 on the day?
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly see people found success with it in Dinar, because that's all of the situations in which it was picked, and that was when Camille was banned out. So I think when we switch patches in 2 weeks, it's going to change again. I think we're going to keep seeing Scion, actually, because it does neutralize okay, and it's still a big tank.
Yeah, I want to see a little more of it. Maybe in scrims where it's a little bloodier, people don't track things as well. The ult is more effective at engaging on fights, and here in the more controlled environment, it doesn't happen as often.
The last thing to talk about here is that the 4 and 6 FlyQuest had put in Stunt again today, and although I know he was the target of a lot of those picks, which extended the game, Jat, you were pretty vocal about thinking that FlyQuest looks better when he's in as opposed to JJ.
Yeah, especially when they have Fly in the game as well, because Fly likes to rotate around a lot of lanes, and I think Stunt is a really strong laner. I think his map play is a little bit questionable at times. You could see it looked like he wasn't really tracking Syndra when he got picked out, but he's really solid in lane, especially when they draft for him that way, and I think it's a way they can find success.
All right, FlyQuest 4 and 6, OpTic to 3 and 7. As we wrap up the day, let's see how the teams rank among one another. Equifox sit alone at first at 9 and 1, while Cloud9 slipped to second. Clutch and their 2-0 week in a tie for third with Team Liquid, and dropping into a tie for 8th place is Logic Gaming and OpTic. This will bring us to your guys' predictions for the day. Mark,
I saved us.
I don't know about that.
No, I did. Believe me, if I stayed FlyQuest, that last-second base push defense,
it would have ended in favor of OpTic.
OpTic would have won. We'd be 0-5. And luckily, I took the bullet for Jat, so he could go up 2 wins over me.
Mark.
Yeah, anytime.
We now have 2 objects that have been 0-5 in a day.
Right,
Mark
one is Mark.
and a coin. So
Hey,
Luckily, I haven't
You're just,
done
you
that
know,
yet.
you've
I
been
view us,
relegated
I
to
view
an
us as a
inanimate
unit.
object.
We're a unit here, and I really helped Jad out today. Support lifestyle,
Crazy day, though. I mean, if OpTic would have won that game,
which is close.
then every matchup would have been decided by who has been in the LCS for less time, right? All the younger teams, aside from that last game, won. Like TSM, COG, C9, Liquid, all lost. So as much as there is that old guard or old boys club that people were talking about, this is actually, I think the last upset day we had was very similar teams losing.
Right.
Those teams are actually starting to struggle, and I think that's what people were looking for a lot when franchising came in, is like, we'll wait for these new orgs to start picking up some wins. It's kind of starting sooner than people thought.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But again, I think that can largely be attributed to the fact that while, yes, we had new orgs come in, almost or all orgs went through a major restructuring when it comes to their roster, right? And so we're still seeing some of that evidenced in teams like TSM struggling to put the finality of, you know, the victory on a game. Still getting those leads, still finding some good looks, but just not able to come together in the end and put the W on the board.
Yeah, and it's not like it's always trending in the right direction either. It feels like these teams are taking steps forward and taking steps back. This time around, despite TSM usually getting gold leads, today they hardly had one at all for the entire game.
All right, how about this one? With no international evidence, obviously, but I know you two do a fair amount of watching of the other regions. Where or how can we even begin to assess the relative power level of the NALCS? Do you feel like the top teams are some of the best teams we've had in the NAL? Like, can you give me any kind of relative scale for where we are as a league right now in the spring split?
It's a little rough right now, I think. I was actually expecting a lot of parity in the league, and I think below the top two teams, we've seen that. The top two teams, I think, are pretty good, Echo Fox and Cloud9, but still actually aren't as good as some of the top teams we've had in the previous splits. My big surprise is my 3-6, which I thought were actually pretty good, have looked pretty poor in the last few weeks.
Okay. I think that's the thing, is we had so many new rosters, so many things we were expecting to see out of these teams, and like Jad was saying, even the third place team, Clutch Gaming, we thought, okay, good mid-jungle synergy, yada, yada, yada. You don't see that playing out. So, like, nothing is really going to expectations, which is concerning when there's so many new teams. Of course, some aren't going to work out, but most are not even working out according to how you thought they would.
Right. Many months. Many months until we end up on an international stage, so plenty of time for all of our teams to kick it up a notch. Now, as teams scrap to climb the standings, a few players made clear they were pivotal in achieving victory, earning themselves a spot in this week's OP5. For Week 5, we've got Huni, Dardoch, Power of Evil, OpTic, and Hakuo. First up, Huni.
Yep, going to be a lot of Echo Fox today as they kind of solidified themselves as the #1 team in the league. Huni had some monster games. His GPU got counterpicked by his own Lucian, and he made sure he punished that pretty hard with Dardoch coming in to help
as well. This is the, you will never pick Lucian against me again, I promise, as he runs him down after getting the lead. And Huni himself is just such a huge presence on every team he seems to be in the NALCS. Like at the very start of the day, we kind of gave our mid-season MVP to Smoothie, who Huni helped destroy today with Echo Fox. So I think if they continue on this pace, he would be a front runner.
All right, next up we got Dardoch, the jungler, right behind Huni.
Yeah, you're talking about MVP candidates. Dardoch mentioned how big of an influence Huni was on him, but he's putting in his own work. A lot of this game was decided by him constantly chasing down Licorice in that top lane. You see him underneath his second turret, actually getting the kill with his ultimate. Huge engages out of him. And this week, doing it on things that are not the Zac, which is really impressive. Had a great Jax game yesterday, had another good Sejuani performance today.
What was it, Jat? 3 times the top jungle proximity that he normally has in today's game?
He camped it. He had 19, he spent 19% of his early game within 2,000 units of Huni.
Right. I mean, I don't know if Lucian was the wisest choice to begin with, but I do not envy Licorice's position once the gang started flowing in that direction. Next up, OpTic's Power of Evil. This guy put on a show today.
Yeah, and we were really close to throwing Phoenix in here, but when you look at the rest of Echo Fox, there are so many people that contribute to their wins. If Power of Evil didn't play the way he did, I don't even know if OpTic wins a game this weekend, and they were a couple auto attacks away from going 2-0.
Right.
He nearly solo carried that Cinder game. His Victor was awesome. He did everything he could this week and really put his stamp on the week.
Right, and you gave the nod, but let's talk about this gentleman as well, Phoenix, just real quick, because I know that he has, in a sense, flown under the radar, and when we look at Echo Fox, we spit a lot of other names out before we get to him.
Yeah, and I think he really does deserve credit and deserves to be in that discussion for the top mid laner right now. Jat had him as his pick for the All-Pro team, and I think he clearly deserves to be there. He has a different style than what we're seeing out of a lot of the NALCS right now. He doesn't play the roamers. He's not going to pick the Galio, not going to pick Talia, but he's going to play his champions. He's going to take Vlad blind, flex it into the mid lane. He's going to perform great.
Right, when you're on the team that's smashing, man, it makes it very hard to pick between all of them. Next up, Echo Fox's AltTic, another one.
Yeah,
Hey.
speak of that team.
Pretty much unheralded, but had a near perfect week. He has been leading the NALCS AD carry pool in kills pretty much the whole year, but in this game against Cloud9, it was him and Adrian who were generating their own kills in the bottom lane instead of just generating kills in team.
Right, they had a winning matchup, but other people have had winning matchups on C9, and most people have not been this effective.
Yes.
The fact that they were able to destroy that bot lane, break the turret, hold Smoothie down, as well as have good team fighting later on was really critical in that win.
All right, and lastly, for the support position, we're going to find Clutch Gaming's Hakuo.
And this is it's always hard to stand out on support, but Clutch Gaming grabbing their 2-0 this weekend is a huge reason why. Able to protect Apollo, who also had a pretty good weekend. We were discussing him a little bit, but just a kind of standout performance, especially on the Xayah Rakan game that they had versus TSM. A lot of the engages were kicked off by him.
Yeah, as you can see, another deathless week, especially as Hakuo, who is a main initiator for that team, shows how clean he was playing.
Right, finally starting to find some direction for that squad, moving to 6-4, solidly in the playoff picture.
Tied for third.
So exactly, and that's crazy. That is crazy to me. But again, we have to recognize that from that third place down to about 7, there's only a few games separating everybody, right? So still plenty can happen. Now, as teams battled it out, you tweeted the individual plays you wanted to see again in this week's LCS Big Plays, brought to you by Acer Predator. First up, Sneaky takes out Bjergsen from downtown. Let's take a look.
Both teams are here.
Oh, wow, what a hit there from Sneaky. Actually gets the pass through on Bjergsen. Midney in a bad spot as he tries to save him. And the rest of the team had actually just bring it back. Sneaky gets it on the true shot barrage.
Son. On bomb. Look at bomb. Nice. What about pressure? Can we take the next wave and then? Oh, nice. Let's get Nash up there.
Sneaky says, nope, not getting away from me.
You love how
immediate change.
Immediate change. They're running up mid lane, and then Sven's like, never mind, I'm going this way. And they just both all book it to Baron.
Right, that's that decisiveness that we've talked about is one of the major differences between our top few teams and everyone else behind them in the pack. Our next big play is for Mark and shows that all you need to escape with Ryze's ult is a cool head and some fancy footwork. Let's take a look.
Someday had just used his previously back to top side, so he wasn't going to go.
Oh!
Ryu doesn't need no state gig stopwatch.
Get that out of here.
He dodges the ultimate, gets right back in, and that was a beautiful escape. You want to see the outplays. You want to see the skill here.
Kobe takes the words right out of my mouth. Stopwatch makes it easy. Face palm, press some buttons, you're out of there. Ryu has to have some fancy
Don't need
feet.
no stinking stopwatch.
Step out of the ult, come back in. Much more impressive than getting out the other way.
Super slick, actually. A very slick play. Next up, Arrow gets the Quadra and turns the game into the League of Draven.
Victor does indeed fall, but a third one comes in. 3 for the Draven, another one for the Gnar. It will not be the Penta. It does get denied. The stopwatch used just to buy 2.5 seconds. Matt will fall. A Quadra for Draven. Zig is a scumbag, but it does mean Baron goes cleanly to OpTic.
I'm on Help coming. I'm on Camille. Yeah, okay, nice on their back line.
Oh, sorry, man. My bad. I'm really sorry. My bad. I'm not gonna go ready.
Give a Quadra.
Sorry, my bad.
You can have Quadra. Give him Quadra. Hey, you can have Quadra. Nice, let's see Baron. Okay.
Sorry, man. I was greedy for flash.
The consolation
Sorry,
prize.
man. I'll give it the Quadra. It's fine. It's fine. I also like how Arrow talked in the interview after that game, how he's like, I really should not have burned my flash going for the pentakill because we may have needed it later.
As a former coach, that's like the mentality you want to see
Yeah,
in the player,
it's just like
right?
you want to be
You're
100% serious all the time, and you're like, good, you realize it immediately. Don't do that.
I love it. I love to see that. Now, as we continue through the second half of the split, keep sending us your big plays to @LOL Esports with that hashtag NALCS. Now we're going to send it over to Freak, Zyrene, and Azael, though, for NALCS tonight, where they'll review the week's games, answer some fan tweets, and look towards next week's matchups.
Got some nice tunes going on. What's up, everyone? Welcome to NALCS tonight. I am Freak. This is Irene, and that is Azael. We're all smiling. It's beautiful. How'd you like the background track as we came into the set?
It was bumping.
It was bumping.
Yeah, my ear was a little bit low, so I couldn't hear it too much. But
that's unlucky. It was great. You missed out. Go watch the VOD. It was amazing. Welcome, of course. We are here to talk about cool things that happened this week. Up first, one of the old school rivalry matches, one of the original NALCS finals, Cloud9 versus TSM. Of course, these teams finding themselves in pretty different predicaments so far this split.
And this was an exciting one for me because I thought this was, TSM kind of on the up and up a little bit over the last little while. It seemed like they had been improving, and this was going to be kind of a really big challenge to see how good have you gotten? Are you really on the level that you can challenge C9? And the answer was kind of a resounding no.
Yeah, they were winning some lanes though. TSM were winning a lot of those lanes very early on. I remember mid lane there was a gank that ended up like making Jensen go down, and then in the bottom side, Smoothie started 0 and 3. So I think Svenskaren's counter gank top lane that turned around into a double kill was kind of the whole momentum shift in the game. But it did look like TSM were out of sorts past the 20-minute mark. Like, communication seems to be a clear weakness for the team compared to somebody like C9.
And definitely you have to say some unforced errors, right? While Svenskeren turning around that gank was incredible, they definitely messed it up as well. The juggling on the aggro, Mike Young goes very deep under the turret, and then he's standing outside of the turret, stops actually attacking Licorice, thinking he has turret aggro. It's on Haunter, so then he's just strafing back and forth, not holding aggro, not doing damage, right? Like, in a cleanly executed dive, maybe Svenskeren doesn't get a chance to actually turn that around.
So I want to kind of jump the topic out to TSM in general. Like, what is wrong with this team? Everyone keeps saying, oh, they're great, they're going to do well. They were power ranked #1 for a lot of people. They're 4 and 6, tied for like 5th place with 2 other teams. Like, this is not what you're defending champions and like this
3-time defending champions.
3-time defending champions. The banners are up there. Like, this is the NA All-Star team. They grabbed the best in the West bot lane, and they're on a losing record 10 games in.
I would say, if we knew what was wrong with them, then they would know and they'd be able to start working on it, right? I think there's a lot at play here. It's not as simple as Mike Young and, nerves. I think it's a lot of compounding factors, right? People were talking about Bjergsen's warding levels. It's like there's a lot of things going on there, and it's hard to pinpoint 1 or 2 or even 3 because I feel like there's a lot that needs to come together for this team.
Well, I definitely see what you mean. I think there's sometimes you can know what's wrong, but it's really hard to fix, right? As far as it's like, oh, if a team is not being proactive, is not being able to. Well, to me, I think one of the biggest problems is they are able to actually get leads, right? Yeah. They have the individual talent, but they're not able to convert that. And to me, that shows like a lack of whether you want to call it communication or mid-game playing. Like they do not seem to be able to actually plan past the early stages. They individually perform very well, but then they are not able to get the vision control and transition that into a Baron and then move that into an inhibitor and kind of move forward in the game. And obviously there can be a lot of confounding factors, and that's why it's so complicated because just saying, well, their mid/late game sucks, which I think is kind of true, isn't always easy to fix because people can have such diverging opinions on how to do it and how to play the game, who should be the focal point, where you should go first, why you should go there, all these different things. And to me, it just looks like a team that has a severe lack of direction, right? It's a team that does not have a cohesive strategy, or perhaps that means that they do not have, a strong leader within the game who is like just saying, no, I don't care what you're doing, this is what we're doing, right? And that to me is the biggest downfall, which is funny because it was all supposed to be about communication.
Yeah, that's why they made a lot of the changes that they did was to increase communication. And now it looks like there might be too much communication and not enough direction, like you were saying.
Yeah, too many chefs in the kitchen.
Exactly, too many cooks. And I was watching their games pretty closely, and I think that like their wings seemed a little clipped because I saw like Cloud9 would start getting an advantage at 20 minutes for the first time in the game, and that would end up being a 9,000 gold lead by 30 minutes. Right? And TSM get a gold lead, but they aren't as aggressive and they aren't even taking risks with it. I watched Bjergsen today never do a Shrima shuffle in positions where I saw he could do it on flashless people, and then they never go for those types of plays, and it just seems like nobody's empowering each other to make plays.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, there's a lot you can talk about. Not going for a shuffle is either Mithy's telling him never go for anything, or Bjergsen's not feeling confident. There's many things that could happen. Let's move on. We've got a lot more to talk about in the show. Our second game we want to talk about, 20 minutes in the NALCS tonight, is Echo Fox versus Cloud9, the battle of the two #1 teams in the league. Only one could win, and it was Echo Fox pretty resoundingly, I would say.
Yeah, especially that top lane. Licorice, I mean, that guy, he's the rookie, but I don't know if he's ready for that. Lucian into Huni in the top side. Now, I think that Huni played the GP incredibly well in that matchup, but I do have to give large shout-outs to Dardoch because junglers should have no business being allowed on the top side of the map in that type of matchup. He should not have been able to affect that matchup once, twice, let alone the 4 times that he was able to go up there.
Well, it was interesting because Sven was spending a lot of time in that lane and in that area. We saw him constantly fighting over the blue buff, over the wolves. He took a Gromp away. Like, he was trying to live in that jungle, keeping Dardoch away, but Dardoch kept getting it anyway. anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's what's interesting to me is that C9 had such heavy pressure in Echo Fox's jungle, but yet weren't able to still track Dardoch and actually, know when he could be up on the top side to actually prevent those ganks from happening, because this is a lane where you must win. It's not okay to go even or fall behind. Lucian is just almost worthless if you're losing that lane, right? So I thought that either they were not doing enough with the information that they were given, or they were not putting enough resources into getting the additional information that they perhaps would have needed. But either way, it felt like somewhat of a failure from Cloud9 to be successful on that top side. But I will still say I liked the fact that they were willing to pick this for Licorice into Huni. Yeah. It certainly didn't work out, and I think that's the reason that this game looked that way. Sure. But I mean, he has been very successful on a lot of different carries. They have confidence in this guy, and when you play volatile carry matchups time and time again, it will not always go your way.
Yeah, and I will say, though, people need to back up a little bit there, because we all know the story of you can be incredibly good, you could smash everybody in the top lane, but you play one Lucian top.
And everyone forgets how good you are.
Exactly.
Just blame the jungler, it's fine.
Yeah, and so I thought that he still did an okay job, but I feel like the map is just falling apart.
Real quick, I want to ask you something. So obviously, because the matchup itself, in the 1-on-1 was plus 10, 15, 20 CS for Licorice. So in one word, misplay or outplay, Dardoch getting to gank top lane anyway. Ooh. Misplay by C9 to not track him, or outplay by Dardoch getting in? Misplay, both of you?
I think it's a misplay.
More Cloud9's fault than Dardoch being great getting in.
There's so much vision in the game
That's fine.
now. If you use
I said one word answer. We're moving on. It's going to keep you guys clipped up here. Golden Guardians versus Team Liquid. Guess who won? Golden Guardians. 1-8 coming in.
2-1 in their
One
promos.
more intro, freak. I'm going to have to cut you off.
Let's go.
Golden Guardians, I mean, I think they put on a good performance. And while it's definitely a bit of a shocker and disappointing for Team Liquid fans, I think that this has been something that should not be as surprising as it feels. I actually feel like the difference between the bottom of the league and a lot of these teams below the top two is not that big, right? Golden Guardians, yes, I still think they're probably the worst team in the league, but they were very close in a number of other games. And, you see OpTic Gaming, a couple auto attacks away from finishing a game here today. There's been so many games that have been a team with a major lead or almost closing it out, and they just didn't quite do it.
In that game, I mean, for Team Liquid fans, this is the one where Team Liquid fans were riding this high, we're a really good team. And now this was the meme game. Because now Liquid are in a position where they are fourth.
No, they're fourth.
Potentially.
They're fourth.
They're fourth. And then that game had Xmithying an ulti, and Doublelift not flashing and dying, right? Yeah. So this was everything where they just all come together for one single team, and that was just the meme game for me, where Golden Guardians, I think that they played that one incredibly well, especially during the later parts. And Lorlo, he had a really good Camille game a few weeks back, and they're showing Lorlo and Contracts, I think, are the two guys who really can carry this team a bit.
I feel like the X factor on the team. I mean, Hai had a pretty good game as well. I thought he had super good KDA, seemed to have good damage numbers. So you mentioned really quickly that you thought sort of after the top two that parity is really close. It's going to move us into our first Twitter question, because it's basically about playoffs, who's going to make it, because you've got basically spots 3 through 9 or 10 up in the air. So the Box 57 asks, who misses playoffs? And he lists FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, and CLG as the options, but I think almost anyone from 4th on down. I mean, I think Liquid's really safe personally, but you've still got another 3 spots up for grabs, and 5 to 7 teams that can grab them.
I mean, potentially all of those could miss playoffs.
Yeah.
I actually think the one that I'm thinking is most likely is CLG. I don't know about FlyQuest too much, and 100 Thieves, I think, are on a big slump now. They have not looked like a team that is gelling at all, and I think the rest of the league is slowly improving around them.
Yeah, definitely out of those teams, if I'm saying one, it's CLG. Yeah. And it feels weird to say, but I feel like so much of it, because there has been parity, it's felt so much about mental strength for the teams, decisiveness. When you hear some of the players talking in interviews and off camera and these sorts of things, and it seems like a team is having a rough time or a rough go of it, it seems to be translating so heavily to stage. Medios in his interview talking about the team feels kind of tilted, they're having trouble agreeing on one direction and these sorts of things. And that very clearly feels like it's translating to stage, I think, for a couple of these teams. And it's going to be kind of a bit of a struggle for them to maybe find that correct identity, find who is going to be the true leader of the team. And once you have that, then I think you can start to kind of build back up.
I mean, ultimately, they did win their game today against CLG, and it was off of what they were talking about a few weeks ago with Prawley saying the best style for them is an annoying macro style, where they're finally able to play that. But that doesn't come out along until later in the game, right, where they're able to have 40-plus minute games. And I don't think that that is something that, as we move further and further, and there are patch changes in the future to try and decrease game time, that it's something that you can continue to keep doing on the LCS stage.
On PvE right now, for 8.4, you've got much stronger Elder Dragon, much stronger Baron, and if you can only win at 45 minutes, that's 3 Elder Dragons in. You might just lose. Okay, not 3, but it's still 3 Barons in at the very least. And yeah, 100 Thieves might not have that time. They might be a victim of having to figure out how to play the game more quickly. It's going to be fun to watch for. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what the playoff picture looks like. I mean, TSM at 4 and 6, right, could drop out as well. I think there's a lot of teams that are in there for options of falling out. It's going to be fun to watch for. I have hopes for OpTic. I have hope for Golden Guardians. We'll see what happens. Let's move on. We have a general metagame discussion topic here because we saw a bunch of new picks come through today. Skarner, something like tripled in priority compared to before, even though he was only changed in 8.2. In 8.3, Skarner's got 3 times the presence as before. Sion showing up for a couple of games as well. Like a lot of new things coming in.
Yeah, these rune choices are a little strange too. Like the Glacial Augment for Zig. Maybe that's because he's trying to get like the dead Sion, doesn't need Frozen Mallet, can go ahead and like hit somebody and chase him down. But then at the same time, like this pick with Comet is pretty lane dominant.
Yeah, it's actually really good, and it's something that we did see come out in Kespa Cup a while ago. So people have been knowing about this since kind of the inception of the new rune system. The basic idea: you max E, you go W second, 1 point in Q, you're getting mana, you're getting CDR, and you're utilizing your E for that slow and the guaranteed Comet hit to kind of have some lane priority against that Gnar, or at least be a tank that can hold even or better against the Gnar. And there's not too many in the game that can really do that because Gnar generally has that kind of split bush advantage. And then you just bring this big tank, you put him in a team fight, he has a lot of farm. Things can look pretty good.
Yeah, I think Camille was banned out in all those games too. I have to go double check, but I'm
Camille's
pretty sure
a lot in priorities as a top laner.
Usually the one that you pick into Gnar.
Yeah, also interesting, we saw a couple of Predator Skarners come through, which I thought was interesting. Like, you're seeing more and more like new things coming through. We saw Janna in the support role as well. Like, and I super love when teams bring out new stuff. I mean, Arrow put a couple of Draven games in.
Yeah.
One I thought was good against Callista. I think it's actually a good matchup. If she's autoing minis, you can auto her.
The other one he
against Caitlyn, I think you're trolling.
Caitlyn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's like a big Charlie 1 fan, saw him beat me, and it's like, oh, it must be a free matchup. Not many people can take down Freak, but little does he know, other players have mana when they play the champion.
If you think Freak is an LCS level player, you've already made a big mistake.
I am LCS eligible, thank you very much. I'm at least Diamond 3 in the last 12 months. Saying teams, pick me up.
There you go.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, especially I think when it's into the Janna, that was another interesting part to me. Janna is something that I've been kind of wanting to see back in the LCS, not because I think it's the most exciting champion, but because I think it's such
blasphemy!
But just because I think it's actually such a good pick in this meta, and I've been surprised to see people just adhering from going to it. They're so like, it must be a tank, right? And it's only a tank. If you play, a range support, you're going to get ganked, you're going to die. But Janna has such powerful team fighting. And when you're going up against like a Braum or a tank support in general, I feel it's very hard for them to punish her lane. And in many cases, you can even just W-max, like you were talking about, if you're going into these easy melee matchups and punish them pretty heavily, then still have a more powerful or more consistent team fight. Especially when you are going up against, I believe in that game, it was like a Sejuani and a Sion and these sorts of things who do not have multiple ways into a fight generally. It's like you use your gap closer, you get into the fight, Janna ults you back out. Now what do you do, right? And it can become pretty difficult.
Yeah, we had seen a Janna before. I think it was Biofrost, and he got absolutely destroyed. And then we've seen some Morgana. So I feel like supports, just the tank ones, had so much momentum because of double Relic Shield. It's taken a long time to correct back to what are we able to play, and how should we even play those champions in compositions. But
absolutely,
there was one thing that was kind of triggering me on broadcast.
Okay.
It was the Predator Skarners, right?
Okay.
Taking Relentless Hunter. I actually think Ingenious Hunter is way better.
Active item CDR?
Exactly. Because you're taking Predator, which it does affect that. And it takes like 40 seconds off the cooldown later in the game. And if you're going Righteous Glory, that's a double whammy. You are going to have a lot of ways to get into fights. And Relentless Hunter is movement speed out of combat, and Skarner already has Spires, and they're soft movement speed caps. So it's not even giving you exactly what it tells you on the rune. So I think Ingenious Hunter is better.
Good to know. Yeah, something to watch for, absolutely. Let's move forward a little bit. We have another Twitter question coming through. Twice I Slasher says, how much is the lack of assassins a result of basically either how current teams like to play the game or the actual strength of assassins as a role?
I don't know what he's talking about, dude. I see Zoe every single game.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
The true one shot.
There you go. There you go. I like it.
I will jump in quickly, real quick, because I know in Korea, for example, they're still playing a lot of Kha'Zix and Rengar. NA has jumped off the assassin jungle hype train, but assassin mid laners, obviously, we're not seeing almost at all right now. LeBlanc, if you want to consider her, we see her once in a while, but certainly a rarity, generally speaking, in North America.
And to me, it is more about meta and how the teams are playing the game right now. It's about the fact that I think Stopwatch coming in really hurt assassins. I mean, that can, when you think about a champion like Zed or like Talon or who's trying to go for this big all-in, well, that can shut you down. And if you cannot get those early kills, snowballing can become difficult. Plus, I just think the name of the game in mid lane right now is wave clear and roaming, right? And assassins, generally speaking, have very poor wave clear compared to some of these other champions. And if you're a Talon and you're like, great, I'm going to all-in this Azir, but you're stuck under your turret the entire game, it becomes very difficult to actually get involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements to why assassins are not very prevalent at all. Things like, your damage palette in a team composition, having mostly physical damage would be an issue, right? Vladimir top is something you could play, but then your tankiness goes down. So
and Eve's not strong right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a lot
like
of
fitting it into a composition requires so many things around.
I think it's still solid, actually. It got played somewhat recently. I forget what league, but we saw Ziggs pretty recently.
I think we had seen I think FlyQuest did some stuff with that back a year ago when they would play like Ziggs AD carry, and then they'd even have like Jarvan.
And Apollo did too.
Apollo was that.
Yeah, Apollo did a lot with Envy.
Yeah, so you can fit it in, but it just changes and shifts everybody's kind of role in a composition.
And it requires learning.
Is it worth all that work, right? Like,
Probably
is the
not.
payoff?
I think yes.
Okay.
So I mean, generally speaking, so the way I view it, and we'll move on in a second, but I'm going to give myself last word, is if you can get it to a passable level, if you can get a new style of comp to a passable level, I mean, it's your time to shine. Normally, I'm going for myself this one. If you get the comp to a passable level, your opponents have scrimmed against it 0 times the last 12 months. They will make egregious macro mistakes because the last time you scrimmed against a Ziggs AD carry was in 2017 spring. So you're going to know the playstyle better, even if it's like only 89% as good as a regular comp. Your opponent's going to play 80% as good as they normally would, and that's an advantage, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. And going back on the assassin point for just 1 second here, I think like Echo is probably the best example of an assassin that has been in the meta at certain points.
I think it's totally playable too.
Because he does solve some of those problems that assassins have. Wave clear, has decent escapes, can choose when to engage, and then he also has pretty good matchups, and he's magic damage.
And works well with TP.
Yeah.
And works well with TP. All right, so we're going to move on now to next week's games. Going to tease the ones coming up. Schedule on your screen in a little bit. 100 Thieves vs. Cloud9, CLG vs. Clutch Gaming. We'll see which team gets the L there. Right now it is Counter Logic Gaming Go. TSM vs. Echo Fox. Going to be a fun one. I'm actually going to be on the alt stream, or the NALCS lounge stream for that one, alongside Sneaky and Meteor. So that'll be a fun
selling
one
out
there.
all week.
Huh?
Selling out all week.
I'm
First
selling
the
out
skins,
all week. The skins, talking about me. It's beautiful. Speaking of sellouts, by the way, spring finals tickets going up on sale very soon. The transition was there courtesy of Zyrene. Thank you very much. They will be going on sale, I believe, on Thursday. For verified fans, check lolesports.com for more details.
You have to be a real fan, verified.
You do, yeah. You can see April 7th to 8th is when that fun is going to happen. It's going to be great. I like how Swag, after he looks in the far left, by the way, he's got the 100 Thieves shorts. He looks very much ready to go in Miami.
I like the Sneaky in the bottom right because it looks like Sneaky and Meteos had a baby because he's got blonde hair, and I'm just like, wait a second. At first I was like, is that
He's just
is that
been out on
Meteos?
the beach.
Yeah,
He's in Miami.
sun-kissed, I guess.
Exactly.
Exactly. Beautiful. So that was your favorite player. Who's your favorite player on that graphic?
Actually, I was feeling the Afro move too. I think,
right, 2-1 we win. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, I mean, the whole poster is pretty sick, though.
I agree.
I'm liking it quite a bit. I'm hopefully going to get one if they're actually posters.
Yo, same. All right, well, thank you guys very much for joining us. Thanks for watching. NALCS Tonight is going to conclude right now. We will see you in about 6 days for week 6 of North America. It's going to be beautiful. See y'all then.
Welcome to Clutch Gaming versus TSM. 1v2, in fact, Aqua just dives in for what a combo! Lyra damage back in. What a massive combo as Apollo just takes down Mike Young.
6-8. Now might be in some trouble.